to the Taliban regime in Afghanistan, which has once again triggered global outrage with a deeply controversial new family law regulation that, critics say further institutionalizes the oppression of women and girls. The new 31 article decree approved by Taliban Supreme Leader hibatullah akhundzada introduces sweeping rules governing marriage, divorce, child marriage and separation between spouses. And one of the most shocking provisions says that the silence of a virgin girl after reaching puberty may be treated as consent for marriage. Human rights groups and women's rights groups have slammed the move, warning that it effectively strips girls of their right to freely choose, and also, their rights are being trampled upon. To help us understand what really is happening in Afghanistan, we have Mr. Musti Khan, a senior journalist, joining us live from Washington, D.C. A very good afternoon to you, Mr. Ahmad. How do you look at this anti-women decree that has now been issued? And this is not the first time. There are several decrees that have been issued by Taliban. And one such is free run to domestic violence. And now children are also not being spared, sir.
Namaskar. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Yes, sir.
It is highly unfortunate that the Taliban has put the clock back in Afghanistan. Afghanistan used to be quite a liberal, open-minded society, as you may recall, in the early 1980s, in the late 1970s. There was women were visible all over Afghanistan. But unfortunately, because of the war that the American CIA imposed when the Russians came in, they also started the jihad. You may recall that the US President Ronald Reagan was the person who glorified the Mujahideen in Afghanistan. It was his terminology right from the White House. And so they gained currency and they became powerful. And you see, at the time, they were very short sighted. They were just trying to contain the Russian communists, and they then promoted these ideas. And that got very highly ingrained in Afghan society, unfortunately. However, this law that has been passed, especially Article 7, where of the principles of separation between spouses, which has been approved by the Supreme Leader Hibatullah Akhundzada and published by the Ministry of Justice. The most controversial among them is just as you mentioned, Article 7, which says that silence of a young girl once she reaches the menstrual age is equal to consent. It recalls me of that age-old Urdu saying that "Khamoshi nisf razamandi hai." This used to be a saying in Urdu.
What does it
It
mean,
is
sir?
ridiculous, you see. And the thing is, this child marriage, unfortunately, the problem of child bride is not limited to Afghanistan. Is highly prevalent in other countries, especially Niger, Bangladesh, Mali, Yemen, Pakistan, Iraq, Iran, Egypt, and Morocco. It has roots in the cultural history where young brides were
So this
permitted.
is exactly what Taliban claims. It claims that women's rights are protected within Islamic law. Do you see any legitimacy in that argument, sir?
Uh, See, the problem is the subjugation of woman uh, originates actually with the Christian ideology. The concept of the woman being born out of the ribbed, you see, a crooked rib of the man is basically a biblical concept. And then many Muslims also adopted that. I feel very strongly about it because in the culture I come from, in Balochistan, we also have a huge issue of child brides. That is also very common in Sindh province. In Sindh, and at many of these places, you see, child bride is the problem of poverty. Child bride is a problem of poverty. It is very strange. You see, I tell you one thing, it is very, very strange. Now, we had a woman Prime Minister, Benazir Bhutto. Her aunts, her father's sister, were never allowed to marry, and they were actually married to the Holy Book. There is a tradition in Sindh that they marry the woman to the Quran so that she doesn't get any share in the lands. So this is intertwined between religion and feudal tradition and customs so that the woman forever remains subjugated. You say in India also, the thing is, in some cultures, like in Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, you have these rites of passage, which is called Ritu, Kala, Samskara in Andhra Pradesh, which is called Manjal Niratu, I believe, Vija in Tamil Nadu.
But
It's called,
it is not an official decree passed by the topmost government. But in Taliban,
yes, yes.
this is a
So you
decree.
have a government there,
Uh-huh.
and your government does
And
not
sir,
allow.
and on ground in India, wherever these incidents are being witnessed, crackdown has followed, heads have rolled, and action has been taken. But as far as Taliban is concerned, and Afghan women are concerned, do you think that they're completely trapped by the system? And do you think that their voices are not being heard?
It's, as I said, you see, it's not only Afghanistan. Afghanistan is the worst case scenario.
Okay.
But this problem exists in most of the Muslim cultures. In India, you guys have made you see your government wherever it has, in very remote areas, maybe they might be doing the practices that I mentioned, but it is not the norm. Unfortunately, in many Muslim countries, now I will tell you one example, you will be very surprised.
Right, sir. Quickly,
My,
sir, because we're running out of time.
yeah,
Yeah.
I will tell you one thing. My eldest sister and the Burmese leader Aung San Suu Kyi were classmates all through their school years. Before coming to America, I was having a discussion with my eldest sister, and she said, "No, no, no, no. God has not made men and women equal. Now, how can you argue with that?" You get my point?
Yeah.
So it's unfortunate.
Sir, but the bottom line is that child marriage is a social evil, domestic violence is a social evil,
Of course,
and a government deciding the separation and the marriage is also a social evil because it is a union of two parties, and even separation should be decided by the two parties, under the guidance of law. But that is not
Yes.
happening in Taliban. Taliban decrees after decrees are being passed, and it's the women, the
Yes,
innocent
sir.
women.
And one thing more, not
Yes, sir.
only Kabul, but we should also blame Washington, D.C., because it
That's true.
started from here.
Right.